So I'm making a new Unity game, and I've kind of laid off making this video for a few months now because I was kind of worried this project was going to fizzle into nothingness like some of my other projects I've been working on. Before this, I was working on Fun Factory, which is this VR factory sim kind of like game. This is it here, this is what I've been working on. That's on the back burner for now because I started working on a new project with there's something that makes this project a little different than my last things. So I've been trying to make games independently since I was about 14 years old, and I've worked with groups occasionally, and as well I've done some game jams with some people, but a lot of the times my experience coming out of that hasn't always been the best. Either people kind of don't pull their weight, or you have differing ideas to the point where it kind of makes it really difficult to work together. So for the past couple of years, I've been making stuff on my own, which is really hard to do, especially for me, being someone who isn't as experienced, and as well deciding out of all genres and platforms to work in the VR space. Like, that is just, I was too time in it when it comes to difficulty level. But you're not here for any of that. You're here to see what project I'm working on and what makes it different from the last one. The project I'm working on is called Coco Loco, and that name actually came from, I want to shout out here, Jonathan Ober. What I actually did was I tweeted out a tweet saying that I wanted to collaborate with some people, and I pitched them my idea for this game. This game, I'll just read the tweet right here. I would like to make a cozy experience inspired by the classic Flash games like Diner Dash and Penguin Diner, but with hot chocolate. So far I have NPCs spawning and a player moving. Visually, I'm going for an Animal Crossing approach with it being stylized, but also especially in New Horizons, having those little details that really just pop with the fidelity of the models. And so after sending that tweet out with my face on it kind of saying, hey, please work with me, I got a crazy outreach of people saying, hey, here's my skills. Hey, I want to work with a group of people. Hey, I love your idea. Here's what I can contribute. And now I've got a small team of people working on a range of different things. This video isn't about them specifically. I'm actually going to contact them later and see if we can do a video together or, kind of get them to present themselves to you. But for now, I want to show you what we've done so far, what we're working on, and what our plans are for the future. As you can see here, I've got a scene open and I've called it Playground because what I like to do when starting out a new project is I like to have a little play around with stuff, and usually I experiment with different game mechanics and trying to basically, it's kind of like the dev room you get in Skyrim, where it's just a room where everything's in it. This is actually kind of transitioned from interactable objects in a room to basically an actual game level. But that's why I've called it Playground, because it's kind of the area where we as developers play around with the different elements and iterate, basically. This is the iterating room, which I like to call a playground because, well, it's a little play area, basically. So certain things like the NPC spawner and the character controller, they've been changed quite a lot because since getting in a programmer, he's basically wanted to lay a new foundation for the architecture, because my code was basically just spaghetti code and I was getting things working just because I wanted to have this idea that I could just sit down with people and be like, look, in the back end, it's a complete and utter mess. But front end, you can basically see, and by front end, I mean the game, not the actual engine stuff. Like, ignore all of this and just concentrate on the game view. Like, that's what you see. And I wanted to convey people the ideas that I wanted them to understand with the project. So our programmer has since gotten rid of a few things, and we're going to be rewriting some things as well. And they're mostly foundation things. We're not scrapping complete systems and stuff. A lot of the project hadn't been made yet, and when first bringing people on, it was quite embarrassing because initially when starting this project, I didn't think anyone else was going to work on it. I thought it was just gonna be me because, I had recently in other game projects kind of thought, if other people are working on this, I want this to be organized or look good. But this was basically me being like, okay, I need something that I can sit down and work on and also take with me to work on as well, because at the time I was traveling quite a lot. Now, not so much, being in lockdown in the state of Victoria.
From 11:59 p.m. tonight, Victoria will go to stage 4 restriction. On the advice of the Chief Health Officer, extend it for a further 2 weeks.
Melbourne was once the most livable city. Now it's the second most locked down city in the world, overtaking London. 208 days and counting.
Love Australia, mate. Anyways, I was traveling quite a bit around because of family events and things. I didn't want to have to log around a workstation rig to work on the game. I wanted it to be something I could put on a hard drive or access from the Git on my laptop, for example. And so I, started this project, thought, okay, what's a really basic idea I can have? And I thought of the old Flash games. And I was like, that's a great idea. I should just polish up a Flash game because those games were great growing up. I have lots of nostalgia for them, but I thought, okay, what if you were trying to make that game in a different market, later down the track? And one of the things that basically came with me with this was that, okay, I still want to keep that chaos that you get in those Flash games and the fun that you have, but I want to give it a fresh coat of paint and make it feel really good and polish it basically. Because some of these games, as fun as they were, going back to it, I realized how unpolished they are. Whether that was the developers, just trying to ship out a game, or whether it was the technology or their skills or whatever, I thought it'd be really exciting to go back and visit these ideas and try to make something new and exciting, but that was inspired by those older games. And when I say older games, they're not that old, okay? They're Flash games. Basically, what I've done here so far, I've got this asset for the character controller. It's very polished. I paid for this asset. The link for this will be in the description. I highly suggest it. If you want a good controller that you can manipulate and kind of change around to your needs, but has a really good base foundation for what a character controller should be, I would suggest this one because not only does it, do the correct input for moving and capturing an environment, it also has things set up for animations as well. So if, you want to make a Zelda clone, this would be something that I would definitely use. And because I'm a very visual person and I would like to think of myself more as an environmental artist and level designer, like that is definitely something I pride myself in doing. I like to spend hours and days at a time just working on the visual aspect of my game. Of course, I had to, put in some nice little materials, some textures here to make it look a bit nicer because I do like making assets. I made these chairs here in Substance Painter. I modeled it in Blender. Basically what I did was make a cushion in Blender. I used like a bunch of physics and stuff to make a puffy cushion, and then I would freeze that render. From that render of the mesh as well, it's not an image render but an actual mesh renderer, I put that into Substance Painter, and I had two models. I had the base low poly version that I was working on that you see here right now, and then you had a high res version. You could do more detail, but really the player is not going to see that close up, so I didn't really bother doing some crazy in-depth models and textures. But for now it's very basic, but this is only part of the project. Because since working in a group, I've had to convey a lot more in ways of communication. So not only have I been in video calls with people and writing notes and taking down minutes during discussions and, organizing all these other crazy things, I've also had to organize us as a team. And so a lot of my work has stepped away from actually being a game developer and more on being a producer and kind of management basically, and writer as well, like writing that design document. I didn't end up finishing it all because thankfully a game designer's like, hey, you don't need to write pages of paragraphs for information and conveying design. Fun fact, guys, you can just draw out diagrams and be like, this part of this game here, yeah, that's what we want to try and iterate on and work in. And so I was able to get everyone onto Slack, mostly because I think Discord, as much as it is good for some community things, there's issues that I have with Discord. Slack is very business based, and so it's had lots of integration with the other services that we've had to use, whether that's Google Drive documents or Confluence or Jira, which if you haven't heard of these programs, that's fine. I just suggest if you are going to be starting a group project in games or in any kind of business sense, anything commercial or that might go commercial, highly recommend going Slack than a more casual place like Discord. Now, going back to working in a group, one of the things I've actually found really helpful was setting up a Confluence. It's like a wiki or forum that has all of our notes and ideas on. So instead of having some giant Google Drive document, whether that's, through their Word or their Excel or whatever, Confluence has it all here. So right here is our design document. It takes a bit of getting used to. I have slowly been getting my head around it, but there's still stuff that I'm like, oh, I don't know how to do that. But as you can see here, we've got different pages, some a lot more full than others, that those who need this information, we can connect them to this, and it's on the web and you can easily see it. And there's a vast difference between editing certain documents and viewing them. Like, that's one thing I really enjoyed the most, was that when I am reading over a document and I need to edit it, I go into the editor mode and I can like make adjustments. That's when I'm writing. But when I'm reviewing things or, want to quickly check something, it's a lot easier just to go and look up something on Confluence than it would be to look at the design document and, be afraid of editing something or feeling like I'm writing a document and really I'm just reviewing it or having a look at a portion of it. All this stuff I'm showing you for your information, basically. But also right now, none of the stuff is under NDA. Everyone's working on this project freely in their own time. I'm not paying anyone. We don't have any contracts. This is all like volunteer base, basically. And right now we're not making a full game, we're making a demo. So once the demo is done, I don't know what's going to happen. Things could change. During development, iterating, things can change. So everything you see here is subject to change. Design-wise right now, we have the live game and the cooldown game, which as you can see here, I have not placed in any wording because I basically want to do like a little diagram or presentation showing what these two states are. But obviously this is something our designer has done. And we had some issue here because we wanted to make the players feel relaxed and welcomed and like they're in a safe environment. But the gameplay caused, stress and anxiety, and it being like a hectic, form of gameplay. And so those two feelings didn't really match. And so I've actually reviewed that, and I'm glad that we have someone, who brought me up on that and be like, hey, okay, I get what you're trying to go here, but this objective you have right here, it doesn't make sense. And a lot of the stuff is a lot more involved than if I was going to be working this on my own, because we have designers and we have people who are more industry based. Like our programmer is, I set up a Jira, I set up tasks and objectives for him to do. And he was like, yeah, look, this methodology or the way that we're doing things, I don't like it. I'm like, dude, I just set up the tasks. I don't know what an epic structure is or, any of that other stuff. For me, this is a lot more casual based. I'm doing it off of my own experience, I guess, and I'm not getting too caught up in the best methods and best practices like you would at a university or schooling or, more businessy structure type thing. Like for me, it is, yes, I want this game to be commercially successful, but also it is me being like, we can change things around, we can move things around. This isn't some sort of corporate structure that we have to run the business because we don't need that right now. And so our designer here has laid out a few, game loops, meta game loops and stuff like that. I've defined what the live game and the cooldown game is. Basically, this is the live game here. What you're seeing here, this is, when you have the control in your hands and you're running around as a character, getting drinks for people and serving people and all this other sort of stuff. And the cooldown game is going to be after that, when you are buying upgrades, budgeting, how much you made, whether you need to make more money tomorrow, kind of a more design-wise is what I want to be, a time where people can relax a bit and unwind and kind of think and process things. And that's the cooldown game. So there's the live game, which is kind of like you as a business owner trying to profit off your business. And the cooldown game is you at night sitting in front of your screen being like, okay, do we make enough? Anyways, I'm getting more into the story and objective of the game, but really I'm trying to show you this design document. So we've got things here like controller input, and I've made diagrams quite simply of this is what I think I want the controller input to look like. Again, this stuff is all subject to change if we, make this and we're like, this doesn't really work. Like this is all pre-iteration right now. This is the crazy thing. When working in a group, I've had to do all the stuff because I'm working in a group. Like, I know that might sound crazy to say out loud. It sounds kind of dumb, like obviously. But one thing I didn't kind of realize when getting into this was that, hey, there's gonna be people who are going to need you to write things out and do things like this that say, hey, these are the ideas I want to convey and this is how I want it to work. If I was doing this by myself, I wouldn't need to really do this. But because I'm not working by myself, a lot of work has been done very quickly because people are very good at certain tasks. It would have taken me another 3 months to get to where my program is at right now, and it only took him a few days. But because, he's doing a degree in computer science, and that is kind of his main skill in programming and having a good architecture for the project, things, as much as this takes more effort out of my week to make, the project's going to be so much better for it, I think. In hindsight, maybe, I don't know. It's only been 2 months. So again, this is going to be a very long development process, and I'm going to kind of lay it all out on the floor here with you guys with my experiences that I've had so far. And so as I talk with our designer and as we kind of as a group agree on core game mechanics and concepts, they'll go here. And so when we need to go back, if we're showing someone new in the team, hey, this is what we're making, or if someone's like, hey, I'm working on this core aspect, if we agree on this or this, it's right here. Of course, lots of people consult with me because I hate saying this because it is really everyone's work and involvement in this project. I did start this group and I did reach out with people, and so yes, it's my idea and my project, so people do consult with me, but it's getting to the point now where it's like there are certain aspects of this project that wouldn't exist if these people hadn't have gotten involved and jumped on board. So I really do appreciate them, and I don't ever want to say this game was made by me without referencing those who actually did the hard yards and actually made the stuff in the project. Like, that's extremely important to me. So don't ever think when I say this is my game, I made this, that I'm ever undermining their involvement or their work, because damn, they've done some good work so far. And so going back to the project, basically we have this scene here. We have a main menu, which when we press play, this is it. This is it, and you can press start and it'll initialize and go into the scene. And you can move around. Oh, look at that. You can move around the environment with like arrow keys and with WASD. And you can hit escape, and there's the pause menu, and you can resume. And if you give me a hot second to connect a controller, we can move the character around. And when we press the pause button, it pauses the game. How cool is that? So that is all working now fantastically. That's the game I have so far. It is called Coco Loco. We're working on a demo, which hopefully you can all play. From that process, I don't know what we're going to do. I don't know whether it's just going to be a demo, and then we're going to build the game up from there and be like, independently making that stuff, and then kind of deal with each other on profit sharing, or whether we're going to get picked up by a publisher or we get government funding, because Victoria, the state in which I live in Australia, has amazing government funding for video games. So I don't know if I'll pitch that there and see what happens. But for now, I'm quite excited with this project. And that's why I've decided to make this video, because I think this is going somewhere. I've worked on this long enough now, and I have enough people involved who are like properly involved. They didn't just come on board, but like it's been a month and a bit now, and they've been working on this. You know what? If people drop out, that's fine. I'm going to keep making this project because I want to see this one through. Do I have an idea for my next project? Yeah, but I'm going to finish this one first. So that has been my new Unity game project. The next bit, really, I'm going to flesh out the UI system a bit just to make it more polished. As much as it is going to be a demo, I want it to be the best looking demo we can get out there. And yeah, aside from that, our program is going to be laying out, the NPC logic. We're going to start getting interactions with the drink machines. We've got the input system working. I think one of the things that I'm going to be implementing, hopefully, or to my programmer to see whether he wants to do it instead, but I wouldn't mind doing it, is key and button remapping. So people with certain disabilities, or kids who can't reach up to this or whatever, if you want to change the buttons, you can. Even on the keyboard, you can change the buttons, having accessibility in mind. I'm so glad I'm able to just sit in front of a camera and tell you all this, because I've been holding this back just in case it didn't work. Thank you all so much for watching. If you want to stay updated with this project, I suggest subscribing to this channel. Sharing the video with others would really come a long way, because we're slowly growing as a community here. But it would be nice to get more eyeballs on these videos. Am I going to promise you a consistent upload time? No. Fortunately not. I have a full-time job as well on game nights, and I also edit Chad's videos on Shadowversity. If that interests you, you should head over there. But yeah, that's basically it. This is Coco Loco. This is my new Unity game project. I am so excited to see where it goes, and if you are too, I hope you stick around. Anyways, until next time, thank you all for watching.